Man, I'll tell you, Sonic the Hedgehog may be fast, but he cannot come back to theaters fast enough. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is so hyped because that third movie was so awesome, and it seems like they're setting up something really special. Because, yeah, they may have said that they're taking it one movie at a time, but they knew what they were doing with that post-credit scenes, and they are definitely gearing up for something really epic with Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and I can't wait. And we are getting bits and pieces. And while we may not be getting much in terms of confirmation on plot details of Sonic the Hedgehog 4, that doesn't mean that we don't have room to speculate and things going forward. And I think they know what they're doing. See, March 2027 may be a long ways away, but the fact of the matter is they can stretch that time out and keep us on edge, and they know what they're doing. And so because of that, they're going to keep on the hype train of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 before we start getting little bits and pieces about 4. And it seems like we're already doing that. They want to keep the conversation going. Take that hype and really build into Sonic 4. So let's get into it. So apparently there have been some rumors, right? That there's going to be time travel details in Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Now, I could have told you that. Oh, wait, I did. But apparently it's from, I haven't looked into them too heavily, but a reliable source in Hollywood in terms of this kind of stuff that there is, there are time travel like elements in the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 plot. But what's even more interesting than that is that we are getting concept art that was released by Tacit Science Studio. Now, apparently, this is official concept art, and you might notice a lot of really cool stuff that's worth going through, and I might spend more time looking at it. But I'm more interested in some other stuff. So we got the thread right here. I'm going to pull it up on Twitter. Go ahead and follow me on there, by the way, if you haven't already. But if you guys will notice, we have some really interesting stuff right here. So, for example, one of the things we have is we have Supersonic here. Okay, we have them. Wait, oh my God, are they destroying the Earth? Okay, so that looks a little different. Sorry, that's just my live reaction to that. Wow, I don't think the Earth was ever going to be destroyed, but that's some crazy concept art. But this is what I want to talk about right here. In fact, I'm going to open this up in another tab as well as the following image because there is a lot to talk about in these two. But for now, let's keep it focused here. So we have a lot, ladies and gentlemen, a lot to dissect with these two images alone. So let's get into it. So one of the things you're going to notice right out the gate that is really important is that we have Eggman in this futuristic attire with like he's a ruler of the world. He's like the king of the world, right? And he's got, is that a throne behind him? It might be. And this over the top, I mean, he's clearly ruling a dark future, a bad future, if you will, like a la Sonic CD. But it's got a red sky, and we've got Metal Sonic ruling right beside him, like his servant or his right-hand man. No Agent Stone. Interesting. And behind him, you have this hellscape. Now, what does this say? Well, it says a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, for starters, we know that Metal Sonic is working right by Eggman here. Okay. We also know that he has somehow taken over the world, and that means we're going to see this dark future kind of play out. And it also means that this was possibly going to be in an end credit scene in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, maybe? I mean, why was this in the 3 concept unless... I don't think this was ever intended to be in the actual movie because it ties up in such a nice bow. But, concept art, who knows how early this was. But we know for a fact that at least it was considered for Jim Carrey to rule a dark future with Metal Sonic. Now, I don't think Metal Sonic was ever intended to be a key figure in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 as a movie. I don't. Especially given that we were introducing Shadow. I also don't think that Eggman was ever going to take over the world. I think it was always going to be him and Joe Robotnik, which means this was probably considered for a Sonic 3 post-credit scene, aka plot details for Sonic the Hedgehog 4. And right off the bat, I mean, I just love this. I love that he has the Cupids. I'm just now noticing that have his face on it. So let me go ahead and blow that up in a bigger tab for you guys right here. And you can also see, right, that it was also means that Jim Carrey may have been considered to come back. Now, does that mean that he won't come back? No. Does it mean that he will? No. Just because something is concept art doesn't mean it's canon, guys. I say this as someone who creates comic books. There are always character designs or things that are drawn or things that are in the script that don't make it into the final product. And just because it was an idea that was considered doesn't make it canon or doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But the fact that this was considered does say a lot, and a lot about what they were setting up. Now, whether it happens or not doesn't matter. Elements of this could still happen. Will Jim Carrey come back as Robotnik? I'm still on the fence, but it is clear that they wanted him to. They didn't do this whole movie from the beginning with the idea that he would never come back. So, if he were to come back, there's a few ideas. Like one, for example, there is a line in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 when I was rewatching it where he goes, "Oh, Stone, you want to stay on? I'll obviously have you stay on until you're successfully cloned." Now, that is obviously a joke, but what if he actually has cloning technology? And what if he already has made clones of himself? And what if, hold on a second, I just thought of this. What if when he's like, "Oh, you're a sick friend," he's saying that because he wants Stone to bring him back? That could be part of it. I'm not saying he doesn't actually care about Stone, but it is interesting that he is not here. Regardless, that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. He may just not be in this particular shot. But you could easily bring Eggman back. I do think he probably died in that explosion. But if not, they could explain it away with whatever chaos power or technology. But he could also be cloned. That may have been a throwaway line, but it may also be something else. Regardless, we could see Robotnik come back. And in fact, I think I'll theorize right here that it is very much a possibility, and this is speculation on my part based on an image, essentially, that perhaps the Eggman that went through this world-saving arc in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is not there. So we're almost regressing him in terms of his characterization to Sonic 2, right? At the end of Sonic 2, he was still very much a bad guy with dreams of ruling the world. Now, again, in his end speech of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, he's like, "If I can't the world, I might as well save it." Well, he saved it, but now what if he gets a second chance? He watches his speech and he goes, "This time I'm going to rule the world." And now he has Sonic's quill, and now he's got Agent Stone, and now maybe he makes Metal Sonic. Maybe my initial theory was wrong, and Gunn doesn't create Metal Sonic, but instead Robotnik again. So that is very much possible. So maybe he comes back and creates Metal Sonic, or Stone does. Regardless, maybe Metal Sonic, I was, theorizing that he takes over and that we were doing a different version of Sonic CD. Because in Sonic CD, for those of you that haven't played the game, it is very much like this in the sense that Eggman has taken over Little Planet, right? And Metal Sonic is kind of his right-hand man. Metal Sonic, it's his first introduction. He is not the final boss, but he is a boss, the most memorable boss. And he is basically like the cool henchman, essentially. He's the coolest robot in the game of the many robots that Robotnik, builds. But my theory was that maybe Metal Sonic is the final boss in this version if we don't have Robotnik anymore. But if we have Robotnik, that changes. Regardless, we know that at some point in production, it was very much considered that he would rule a dark future. And I think that is still a possibility we should keep on the table. Now, let's keep a pin in that, because we know some characters that are from a dark future, some characters that are very heavily associated with time travel. Now, do I think that if they do one time travel movie that they're going to keep going back to time travel? I think it's risky, but they said they were trying to do something different with every movie. The first one was kind of a road trip movie. The second one was kind of an adventure movie. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I guess it was his shadow movie. It was like an end of the world kind of movie. I don't know what you would call it specifically. But now we have a time travel movie, and I think that means they're going to pull from Sonic CD in bits and pieces, but I think they're going to pull from Terminator, maybe some Back to the Future, who knows? Which means if we're going to do like the time travel movie, maybe it makes sense to put the time travel character Silver the Hedgehog. But again, if he is in it, I do not think that means he is going to be a major character. Part of why I say that is because we also had the logo revealed for Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and that logo has pink. So Amy Rose is going to be the main new character, like how Shadow was in Sonic 3. And then we had Tails and Knuckles for Sonic 2. So I think a spotlight's going to be on Amy and Metal Sonic regardless. And if Silver shows up, he'll show up in the future. I've talked about this at length in other videos. Anyway, let's get into the next part. So I also want to highlight this. This was like an alternate, version of Amy's first appearance. And as you could see, a better look at her, she doesn't have the hood. Her design looks a little different. She has the headband. And honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. I actually kind of like this design a little better than the version we see in the film. But I hopefully she comes around and gets the headband and everything. And I want to theorize more about Amy Rose and where I think they could go. But we got the dress and everything and the hammer. And it looks like this may have been an earlier version of the post-credit scene wherein Sonic is saved by Amy from a robot, not necessarily a metal Sonic. I'm not sure if this robot is anything from the games. It's hard to tell from this angle. Let me know in the comments below. But if you look beside them, again, that does not look like the world we saw at the end of Sonic 3. This looks like a dark future, which leads me to wonder if maybe there was going to be some time travel involved in an earlier version of the end credits scene. I mean, because we don't go straight from the ending of Sonic 3 to this hellscape, do we? Unless, remember that image of the world being destroyed? No. I was like, oh, maybe there was an alternate version where things turned out worse in Sonic 3. I don't know about that. But what I do know about is it sounds to me like they always knew that Amy was going to save Sonic in some post-credit scene, and there's also a dark future that awaits. But what this also implies is that we see Sonic and Amy in this dark future. Does that mean that Amy is from this future? No, because we see Sonic here. So what does it mean? Well, she could be from the future, or possibly she's from the present and somehow finds out about, I don't know, some time travel elements. She doesn't necessarily have to be from the future. It's possible, but we don't know that for a fact. All we know is that time travel, again, is an element, and what we do know is that it is pulling from Sonic CD. How heavily, we don't know for sure. But in Sonic CD, for those that need a refresher, Eggman used the Time Stones with Metal Sonic to basically take over this place called Little Planet. Now, I don't necessarily think Little Planet will be in the movie, though I did do a video on the possibility of it. But what we do know is he took over, and Sonic has to basically go back in time and destroy these generators and stuff to create a good future. So there's a bad future where Eggman takes over, and I think we're seeing the bad future. And then there's also a good future that Sonic has to go back in time and save. And I think Amy will be his right-hand woman, I guess, throughout all of this. And that doesn't mean that Tails and Knuckles won't be doing their thing. I actually think it's possible that they could be split up, that Tails and Knuckles could have their own plot line while Sonic and Amy have theirs. We'll see. But the point is, I think that Sonic and Amy are working together to prevent this terrible future from coming to pass. I think that means we'll see glimpses of it. And who knows, those glimpses may include Silver the Hedgehog, because Silver's whole backstory, right, is that he's from a dark future. And Sonic, it debuted in what is considered one of the worst games in the series, right? He did. And people don't love that game, but they love him despite the game. So what if they reworked his backstory so he's fit in an adaptation of a more beloved game with time travel, Sonic CD? Now, Sonic CD came out in between Sonic 2 and 3, but takes place in between Sonic 1 and 2. So way before Silver was created. But, we've already seen in the movies that they take stuff from more recent games and put in earlier stuff. So there's no reason that Silver can't theoretically be placed earlier. I mean, we have a time travel story here. Why not bring in the signature time travel guy? Makes sense, right? So I think it's very much a possibility. Again, whether Amy is from the future or not, I'm actually not entirely certain. What they're going to do with Amy could go in a bunch of directions. Someone also suggested, I think it's been hinted at even in the games, that these rings could actually be inhibitor rings, kind of like what Shadow has. And I actually think that would be a really cool addition to the character. Maybe she's doesn't always want to be a fighter, but she kind of has to be. But she fights for her loved ones. But anyway, I could talk about that at length. But what does this mean? Where are we going with this? I mean, we have very limited intel right now. We have theories and we have some concept art to go off of. But I think I'm going to lock it in and say I firmly believe that time travel will play a role in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Metal Sonic, of course, will have some dark power in the future. I think maybe we'll see one Metal Sonic in the present, maybe an army in the future. I don't know. But regardless, I think whether Metal Sonic will be there, the main villain, or whether Eggman will be the main villain remains to be seen. How Shadow will fit in, I'm not sure. But I do think that a lot of people are saying that Silver is basically confirmed. I don't think that's necessarily true because Sonic CD, again, doesn't require having Silver. But I think, especially with them seeing how many people want Silver, it's a possibility. But if he is there, again, he can't steal Amy's thunder. That's the thing. I also, however, do think that it's possible that Silver could survive this and then become a major player in another thing. Like, who knows? Silver could even be a post-credit scenes of like, oh, you stopped this bad future, but you created another bad one. Or something along those lines, or maybe his timeline was erased but he survives, something to that effect. But again, we'll have to wait and see it. Who knows? Blaze the cat could even be there. But I'm curious. I want to dive further into Sonic CD and really investigate that game and see what they're pulling from. But I think in all likelihood, because I think they're going to be pulling from some future games, some other past games, as well as some Hollywood movies. Because if we're going time travel, I think they're going to go all in on time travel while keeping a simple plot. Rewatching Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it's actually a very simplified story of Sonic Adventure 2. They really cut out a lot of the fat and really just got straight to the point. I think that's part of why Rouge wasn't there. And I think that despite it being a time travel adventure, it's going to be as A to B as they can with us hitting as many like little stops that lead us to the A to B. Because obviously A to B has stops in between. So again, if Silver shows up, it will be either setting up another movie or it'll be because it's relevant to the A to B. But mainly what we're going to do is we're going to see a time traveling adventure. Maybe Sonic and Amy will be the ones going back and forward in time. In fact, what could be really cool is, oh my God, what if we had Tails and Knuckles were the ones in the present and Silver could be in the future? Anyway, I'm speculating at this point. Who knows what's going to happen? But what we do know for sure is that there is going to be some time travel, and that is very exciting. And I can't wait to learn more about this story. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen. Do you guys think Robotnik is going to come back? Do you think Silver is going to be there? Is Amy from the future or is she from the present? What's the catalyst? What is causing them to time travel? How is the time travel happening? I mean, we know there are time stones and Sonic has to collect them in the game. Will Sonic be doing time travel? Will Amy be doing the time travel? I think it's possible. Well, I think a lot of things are possible. How the time travel is happening, I'm going to have to take more time to think about it. I mean, I've thought about it a lot, but we could always speculate further, right? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. And before I go, I always like to plug my stuff. So if you like the way I talk, if you like how I come up with stories, you're going to love this. So I have a comic book that I'm working on called Phenomenova, and issue 2 is currently crowdfunding on Fund My Comic and Indiegogo. But if you're like, I don't know if I want to back this guy in a crowdfund, well, don't worry, you don't have to. In fact, you can actually go to the description and read the first 10 pages of issue 1 absolutely free. And if you like it, hey, you have a few options. You can either subscribe to Global Comics and read the whole thing on there once you have a subscription, or you could buy the PDF for $5, or you could buy issue 1 off of my website. And if you're like, okay, I really want issue 2, well, you're in luck because issue 2 is crowdfunding on Fund My Comic and Indiegogo and will be coming to Kickstarter soon. Again, those links will be in the description. It is already fully funded on Fund My Comic, but some people prefer Indiegogo as it's a bigger platform. So I did drop it on Indiegogo with a much lower goal as well. So if you back the campaign, there are exclusive covers that are available on there. There's one exclusive one right here that's only on Fund My Comic and won't be on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. But otherwise, these covers will be on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Whatever you get, let me know, or just back it. And hey, all the backers get exclusive rewards like trading cards, and all of this information can be found on the campaign pages. Again, we have Fund My Comic and Indiegogo, and soon Kickstarter, which you could sign up for. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. And you know what? As I head out, I'm going to play you the trailer for Phenomenova issue 2. Let's get into it.
I just want it to be like the Crusader Corps. Like my father. I thought with my new powers I could be. But I failed. I let everyone down. I got people hurt. I just wanted to make the world a better place. And instead I made things worse.
But now I have the chance to make things right with the help of one of the Crusader Corps. The Phoenix Section. And I will. I have to. Whatever it takes. I will find that spark again.